Hello, Internet. You are now experiencing Technical Difficulties, an RPG actual play podcast. Each week we play a variety of games, including Call of Cthulhu, Eclipse Phase, and the upcoming Red Markets from Heaven on Games. New episodes are posted every Wednesday, along with a weekly blog where we discuss past sessions, post original short fiction, and talk about our hobby. Join us at www.technicaldifficultiespod.com. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, and wherever fine podcasts are sold.
Hey, it's Russ Payton with Roleplaying Public Radio. This is RPPR episode 129, Campaign Starters and Parters, where we're going to be talking about starting campaigns, what to look out for, what to do, what not to do, and just our general thoughts as we're beginning a new Base Raiders campaign, finally. Woo! Yeah. We haven't talked nearly enough about Base Raiders.
not since when, aeons ago when you created that game.
Yeah, no, it's been
like
forgotten.
2 whole years that you haven't spent more than 5 minutes on an episode plugging it.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's like Ross likes money or something.
Oh, yeah, because it's all about red markets
things.
these days. You know, red markets is the new hotness.
If Ross liked money,
Agreed.
you wouldn't have tabletop RPGs.
Yeah. First off, though, we do have some news, and I have a new Base Raiders book out, Base Raiders from the Underground, which is a print compilation of and PDF compilation of the first 9 smaller PDF supplements I've done for Base Raiders. So new heroes, new villains, new super teams, new gear, death traps that Caleb wrote.
If you like giant robots, they're in there.
There's robots, there's power armor, there's death traps, vintage death rays. It's got it all. It's available for print for $7.99 on DriveThruRPG and my own Gumroad store, and then also for $15 print and PDF on Gumroad. So, and I will autograph the copy because I'm that classy of a person. So, that's the big news. But then I guess there's also some Kickstarter going around too.
Yes, Red Markets is still up until the 22nd of June. So please back today. We're at, we just unlocked another stretch goal. So we're over 56K. We're working on our 60,000 stretch goal now. I will go write an update for that after I'm done with this. And book's going to exist now for sure.
In color.
So yeah, with
Hardback.
color. So at this point, it's just,
Offset
getting on all those extra stretch goal goodies. So
Yeah, we will shower you with PDFs by this
come
point. Give us
aboard,
more.
Aaron,
everyone's welcome.
it's disgusting.
Showering with PDFs. I mean, hey man, that's nothing. It was a practical hurricane of PDFs for the 7th Sea Kickstarter. So this is just like a
PDF
Okay, but that
extinction
doesn't
event.
sound
PDFs
like,
in the mist. Yeah.
that doesn't sound like a sex act.
How does showering you with PDF sound like a sex act?
If you can't figure it out, I'm not going to tell you until you're older.
Anyway, so let's talk about
33.
tone.
I think John Wick made a game called that.
It was called Wield.
No, Wield was too boring for that.
I didn't say it was good tone.
Yeah, so I'm starting the Base Raiders campaign. The working title right now is Gate 9. It might be changed later on.
Nope.
Apparently not. The basic premise is all the player characters are humans, normal humans, who all suffered linked by a bad event in their past before, 8 years before Ragnarok happened. And then they all find out that they are. Then one day, as the campaign begins, they find out they're no longer legally classified as human because of what happened to them 8 years ago. And so they find a way, someone sort of hints to them a way that they can reverse this by going to this place and finding out, hey, there's a superpower source we could use to just solve this problem. But instead of just solving that problem, getting back to their lives,
superpowers.
they're like, let's take everything but the copper wiring out of this place.
Well, it's like you're gonna.
Didn't forget.
Yeah.
Well, we just looked at it from the terms of, well, you know what? You took everything away. We become Base Raiders.
Yeah, that's.
I had an accident. My character in setting was trying to do
Accident
Yeah.
in quote marks.
character
As a
had an
player, I was
accident.
trying to get superpowers.
And in an accident, you have
As a
created
player,
the
it was the
greatest
first time I ever
character
seen
that has
a power
ever
game.
possibly ever graced Base Raiders.
Hey, I respected the fiction as I did it.
Yeah.
It's true. I was duly impressed.
So I'm really excited to be running another campaign. I mean, to be honest, this is going to be a little more. This is going to be more open ended than my previous campaigns. Fallen Flag was obviously how the ending was written in from the beginning, which is like the characters either all die or they all save up enough money to go on one last score to retire, and that's the whole story of that campaign. This one, I have no idea what the story is going to be. Like, there's a beginning, but you guys are going to determine how it ends, because are you going to become heroes? Are you going to become villains? Are you going to be a little from column A, a little from column B? Are you going to change the world, escape from the world? I don't know, and I'm kind of excited to see about this, because, this is about base raiders. It's about changing the world, and how do you use power that above and beyond ordinary humans and all that. So yeah, I'm really excited, because this is sort of a change of pace for me. So we, as I mentioned earlier, tone is an important thing, and obviously we all kind of were on the same page with tone, because I sort of sent out emails to everybody explaining what the exact premise was. Even within base raiders, there can be some tone, and I think it worked really well. Everyone was really on the same page, working together in that first session. So I'm really excited to see what happens next. But obviously, that doesn't always happen, and sometimes it works even better than maybe what we did this Monday for the first game. What do you guys think? I mean, in terms of like starting a campaign and establishing the tone, what are really the most important things for you guys? Like, after that first session, are you like really hype about a campaign, or you know what I mean? What is important to you?
Well, I think you need to have that tone discussion regardless of how long you've been playing with the people you're going to play with and what game you're playing.
Yeah.
Because, we played Faust's Third Wheel's, I guess it's
Delta Green.
Thrilling Adventure Hour Delta Green game, and that was really fun, but it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was utterly ridiculous, and it's like one of the most grim, darkiest systems that exist. And then, ostensibly we used the same system to do God's Teeth, and everyone's like, I had to go home and take a shower and have a good cry. But, we talked about the tone before God's Teeth, and we just started playing the Delta Green game. So I think, and then, with Red Markets, again, a very grim kind of thing, but, we had a 4-hour podcast, and so the one-shot playtest is whackety schmackety do, and it's fun and it's a good game, but if it was a campaign, it would be a very silly zombie campaign, and then the Fraggle Rock problem in playtests. So I think you always have to address that.
Everyone sitting on this side of the table apologizes.
No, you don't have to. I mean,
nothing.
It was a one shot. I go Fraggle Rock on one shots.
That's true.
And in campaigns, but you just have to talk about what you're going to do first.
But yeah, standing on kind of the opposite side of that from the grimdark perspective too, because when I started off the Atomic Robo game. And I know we hit on this a little bit in the postmortem, but I explained kind of mostly I think David a little bit, saying because he took more turns toward even having a goofier character like Malevolent was, but trying to do something more grimdark, like taking out a villain. It's Tesladyne's not going to let you do that. They're pretty much we're not meant to go out and guns blazing. This is pretty much you're going to have fun. And to interact with that story.
And I think part of it is also some of that tone is obviously carried through the system. And part of Fate is that your character it's sort of written into the game that you have to have setbacks, in order to eventually have success later on. And David, as a player, doesn't
enjoy that kind of give and take.
Yeah, exactly. He does. Some players are more resistant to that. I think a lot of it's due to conditioning to D&D, where it's like a tactical problem that you are expected to be able to 100% everything. And when you can't 100% anything, that's your lack of skill as a player or something like that. And Fate is obviously not like that at all. It is very much like you Venture Brothers your way through until somehow you succeed. To varying degrees, maybe not full Venture Brothers. Never go full Venture Brothers.
Yeah, no.
Still
waiting for that Calamitous Intent game.
Yeah. And by the way, Fraggle Rock is sort of an in-joke reference. And I know just for those of you who may not be aware of it, is when in Red Mark is, again, a very dark, grim, post-apocalyptic game. One of our early one-shot playtests, we named our characters after Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem. Yeah. And we got even sillier, and that was a bit of tone dissonance.
Yeah, I take full responsibility for that one because writing off of the name thing, because Fraggle Rock is what I grew up with Muppet wise, so I named a character named Traveling Matt, and that
you just have to shove it in everywhere.
Yeah, so that became the colloquial term for goof.
I mean, we did kind of do a Venture Brothers tone in No Soul Left Behind,
right?
Yes,
but I basically said let's make it dramedy, be as silly and wacky do as you want, but if it gets real, let it be real.
Yeah,
and so that was kind of the
and that succeeded because I remember the scenes with my character's son were very much on the drama side, and then
you're irradiating beer. With SWAT
and melting garage doors.
Yeah, and melting garage doors.
Turning things into uranium.
Yeah.
There was a great spectrum there because I feel like Sarah's character was far on sort of the Arrested Development end of the scale with everything that transpired with Honey Bear.
Yeah.
And then there was, Chan and to a certain extent Mr. A in the middle. And then on the other end... Bran Rourke.
Oh, God. It's so dark.
Comedy,
and Bill, so what are the kind of things you look for when starting a campaign?
Well, one of the things that, and I mean, this is certainly an idea that's, been flogged around here a lot lately, but the idea of running a couple of pretty well completely deniable one-shot sessions just to see if it's going to cohere first and to try to, shake out any looseness that's in the tone. I feel, no more than it has transpired so far. The Armitage Files is a lot better off for having run a two-shot that has nothing to do with that larger story.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, but at any rate, and that I think was another good one where we didn't talk a lot about it, but when we sat down to do character creation for that, I kind of clued you guys in on what I was thinking. At first I thought, it was sort of meh. Masks is it's a lot in dialogue with Masks, at least from my perspective, where, that was a very globetrotty, very kind of pulpy kind of game. I wanted to do something more on the cosmic side, more on the, sort of weird sci-fi, early Lovecraft kind of stuff, and something that was a lot more tied to an area.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, not gunning down warehouses full of cultists.
Right.
This is true. And I think that, running opening scenarios, that is definitely, especially if it's a new system, as we mentioned before, when I should have done that before I ran Tribes of Tokyo, since that was kind of a jump in game system and tone for a lot of players.
Look, we keep bringing it up. Yeah. I'm not saying you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But you can't put that entirely on your shoulders. Do not blame yourself for Forger Sniper. All right?
Or
some people
Japan.
Some people bear a lot of responsibility for what happened there. And it's their sin alone.
But I mean, it did help, but I don't, and it certainly helped having those opening scenarios for Macedonia Lothotep because that also helped establish the hook of the campaign, which, spoiler alert, is about a certain NPC being murdered and you investigating his murder. So if you introduce that NPC before the murder, the players will actually hopefully
give a damn.
Care more about his murder. I just want to throw that.
And trying to do and using the opener not only to introduce the tone of the setting as well, but if it's a completely new system or like an Atomic Robo flavor of Fate.
Yeah.
I thought by doing the training day session where you're just wondering about Tesla beforehand, and then you're right, getting that hook in there. Granted, my failure was hey, look at that blue plant. Let's stomp on that blue plant. No, you don't get it. I'm going to stangle it in front of you and take it away.
Yeah, and foreshadowing is a really tricky thing to do as a GM because you have to do it in fiction. If you're a writer, since you have control over the whole thing, you can be pretty blatant about the foreshadowing and be like, everyone ignored the blue plant in the corner. Whereas in a game, people are like, that's a really fucking obvious thing. I'm going to rub my face all over it. I want to find out what that is. So you have to be really careful about how that. So it's a lot harder to do as a GM than as a writer. So that's, the thing is the opening scenario isn't necessarily 100%, because I did not do that for the Base Raiders campaign,
Right.
Because the whole point of the campaign is the origin story, like the character arc, and so like we start at day 1, you are normal people, and suddenly you have this opportunity to get superpowers. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean that one shot thing is important just to like realize that players haven't read the book. Like, 90%, if not 100% of the players haven't read the full book, so that one shot also helps you get an idea of the setting. Like, like I would never recommend people start a campaign of Red Markets without playing a one shot, because like no matter how many ways I pitch it or how many different buzzwords I use, everyone's like, so it's a zombie apocalypse game. I'm like, no, it's, I mean, I see where you get that, but like it's not an apocalypse. There's like functioning manufacturing, like there's internet, like they don't really glom onto that until you play it. Or even worse, Eclipse Phase, where you like play a character that dumped 80 skill points into gear, and then the next session you transfer bodies and have nothing, and you don't know how to read.
My Reaper isn't here now?
Yeah, and you don't know how to read anymore.
It'll like, be there in about 8 months.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you need those.
Well, the anarchists voted, campaigns. And they decided to take your body. The good of the collective. So,
wait, what do you mean we're going to the Jovian moons? I can't take this?
Yeah. Those are really good points. I think, Bill, you brought up in our show notes that you should have kind of what you call the tool, the same page tool.
Yeah,
so.
and actually that's a particular thing. I forget whose blog that it's on, but yeah.
We'll put a link.
Ross.
I'll put a link to it.
But it's something I stumbled onto a while back, and it's really interesting. It's not maybe comprehensive, but while it looks sort of superficially like a questionnaire, it's actually more kind of like I like to think of them as like a pizza menu.
Yeah.
Like your GM goes through while coming up, doing his legwork beforehand for the game and says, these are sort of the elements of a role-playing game that I'm putting into this, just so you don't get sort of that out of the vast panoply that tabletop games can do, so the players can look at that and see fewer surprises. And, for those of you who like aren't too afraid of reading up on, Forge game writers stuff, Vincent Baker actually did a lot of great blog post series that kind of tie tangentially to this about kind of figuring out that whole stancing issue.
Yeah, we'll try and have link in. I'm writing a note. So that, and that's a good point. Like for Base Raiders, I kind of did that to a degree because in Base Raiders, I not only said you had to be like a low power character, I said no superpowers and you have to be human. Like in Base Raiders, you could be a non-human. You could be an alien, a robot, or a magic spirit, or a crocodile that is, I don't know, Tom, whatever.
Crocodile that is Tom.
Yeah.
Perfectly described.
See, he goes away for a month and we immedially unload.
I think that's why he left.
Yeah.
Oh.
He said no non-human characters. He's like, I'm out. Just the sound of...
I'm going to go walk the earth.
Just tires peeling out of a driveway.
So it wasn't walking, it was flying.
I thought he was going to that golf course where they saw that giant gator.
Oh.
I want to see that gator. That gator looks awesome. Yeah, and huge and scary. But yeah, and so we had emails and people asked questions, and I like established like here's the one thing that links you on will be the initial framing device. Here's this one incident. It happened to your characters. You don't have any choice over it. It's something that happened to you. So everything else is up to you. It's like how you define yourself as a result of that. Did you ignore it? Did it totally redefine you as a person? That kind of thing. And so, yeah.
And go ahead, Caleb.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I think you did something really great there in that, granted, with the time lapse, it would have been pretty impossible to do it any other way, but you did a great job of starting that as late as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, to co-opt a different metaphor, there was no fighting about getting on the plane to Antarctica. We started on the plane to Antarctica.
Yeah. It starts out like basically in the first 10 minutes, there's an NPC who gives you all the clue to go to the place that happens to have the superpower. So there are like some puzzles and things that were in order to get access to the superpowers. But it was pretty easy because, I wanted to just see what you guys would do in that situation because I didn't know, and I kind of wanted to see.
Well, and it's nice that you gave us that rock and a hard place, too, that you said, all right, well, yeah, you can go back out of your lives, but the better chances are that you're going to be arrested and taken to whatever wonderful internment camp is waiting for you.
Right.
So,
and yeah, that was the thing. So I know I've been in a lot of campaigns where it did start way too early. You know, it's like, here is the exposition, and here's more exposition, and exposition, and exposition, and exposition. All right, next session, you get to do something, you know.
And suddenly every Campbellian there's like refusal of the call.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. You can't predict what the players are going to do,
right? And
players will seldom do the thing that you want them to do. So you have to So I've given up trying. I just like whatever happens.
That's something really freeing about Armitage. I can't plan more than about 5 minutes ahead.
Yeah,
so.
Armitage is really well written for that reason.
Yeah.
You know, because it just provides you this sort of meta narrative structure.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, one other thing is obviously when starting a new campaign, you think about your character that you want to build and everything. And so there were, like we mentioned, I wanted to find out what players were wanting, what kind of person they wanted to have to start out with. And the thing is, I didn't want to make them too interesting because the whole point of a role-playing game is that this is the most interesting part of your character's life, you know. And so yeah, like, I mean, but there are different role-playing games that have different expectations of character growth and character arcs, you know. Like, some games, characters grow very quickly, like D&D, you level up. A level 1 character is very different from a level 20, you know, demigod. But, like, a lot of games have very static characters, like, actually a lot of World of Darkness characters have very slow XP growth, so, like, you don't gain much power over the course of a campaign, unless you ignore a lot of what the game writes about what it's about, and instead give them tons more experience points, and that's what happens, and then become fang superheroes. But, you know, what do you guys think about character arcs?
Well, the deeper problem with playing World of Darkness is playing World of Darkness. You're already off on the wrong foot.
Spoken like a true Caleb.
I think of it like character mutability. You could also think of it as like, am I going to play a flat or a dynamic character?
Yeah.
So, for instance, we're getting ready for a playtest campaign for Delta Green.
Yeah.
And he told us to make, you know, people, well-rounded people and all that kind of stuff. So we had to come with a backstory. So I did my best to do that. But at the same time, I didn't want to write more than a couple paragraphs because I'm like, knowing the GM, this guy's going to die an hour in, or he's going to be completely insane, and now his story is being nuts. So, and with Base Raiders, when you're like a non-human, I wrote a pretty extensive backstory for it, but it means nothing after the first session because, like, now it's what happened in the first session is the character concept. So, I think you need to understand when you go in how mutable your character concept is going to be, how much it's going to change, because I think that differs. Like in D&D, you're going to be a more powerful thief, and you'll still do thief stuff. Like whereas, you know, if you have a game where you don't have superpowers and then you do, like that's a big arc, or something like that.
That's a good point. But even in a D&D campaign, like, the GM will hopefully say something like, this is going to go from, like, level 1 to 6 or level 3 to 10, not like it could go whatever. So, like, your character, like, obviously part of also in D&D is you engineer your character to be like, at this level I take this paragon, you're this prestige class, or I do this and I do this and then I'm super
it's just
character optimization. But you should have some idea of, like, how long it's going to go.
And like I said, Caleb brings the good point about mutability, that you don't want them just defined by those abilities too, of that upgrade, but how they'll turn out. Like well, a little bit, if you spoilers on Fallen Flag, but how we ended up at the end, and us carrying all of our scars, and then having to, for a session, play us as our bright, fresh-faced, so to speak, characters again. And like, role-playing wise, I was sitting there for a second going, holy shit, how do I do that? Because I hate at least 2 people in this group with a passion now, or my character disciple with that. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, a lot of it is. Not just your character's power, your skills or whatever, but your emotional arc. Like what happens. Certainly, especially like among characters. Bill, any thoughts?
Oh, just thinking like of the Base Raiders thing. Like, I'll just sort of add another yes man to what we're saying about mutability, because like I came in with a pretty particular idea. Maybe not. I mean, it was sort of based around, if this character is going to go after powers, what they would be on the basis of, the vaguely mentioned thus far event having had certain psychological effects on him, and, trying to figure out a way to play that wasn't exploitative, but still, well, to be honest, I was going to have it, be like dealing with body dysmorphia because, not to like brag, but I'm 75 pounds down, and that is not the same body I had.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of weird, so I thought of, work on that a little bit.
Right.
But then, you dangled music in front of me, and it's like, well, sometimes
a music based power,
yeah.
That's true. And there's not to say you couldn't find something later on that would have like the dinosaur elixir or whatever, so something like that. There's always, I mean, that's one thing in Base Raider. One thing I also did in Base Raiders was I didn't want to I did come up with specific kind of things that you could find in this one area that had powers, but I also made it clear that you could just take them and try and sell them to gain whatever kind of powers you wanted specifically, because I didn't want you to be hedged into this certain finite number of powers.
Right.
Yeah.
All the same, there was just that difference of like using something that was actively there versus, I'm going to flip this because I didn't want the transformation that came from the super soldier drug. I wanted the dinosaur potion.
Yeah. Something like that.
Right.
But yeah.
And kind of tailing off of the whole thing with character mutability, one thing I thought would be important to do is also player dynamics moving in from one campaign to the next.
Okay, yeah.
Carrion behavior.
That's depending on what has happened in the previous one, and let's just say if there were certain rivalries going on prior to that, carrying over into characters of the next one, or you have certain players who want to continue that, or their natural method of communicating with each other is just sniping constantly. So.
No, that's true.
Why would you mention that, Aaron?
Because I'm apparently at an AA meeting now.
No, metagaming issues are a big thing. Like, people will bring in baggage from their other games, in a sense, and like one of it is player versus player dynamics. It's two players, and I think we're really lucky with the Base Raiders game is that all 6 players were like everyone was, I think, firing on all cylinders, and nobody was really like metagaming or doing anything really. But I've certainly had games like that, and so player versus player conflicts are one thing. So the Jason versus Aaron conflicts of here's New Arcadia
years ago.
For our veteran listeners out there,
shots fired.
Well, I think it's pretty well established.
Here's New Arcadia.
Yeah. That's more like shots in the dirt and
Dark
rusting.
Sun. We made it 2 sessions into Dark Sun for you actively trying to murder each other.
Okay, well, no, I take responsibility on my end for apparently trying to play the elf Punisher. But also, in retrospect, Jason was trying to play like the most evil hobbit there ever was.
Well, he was Dark Sun. He was in character for that.
Yeah, he was.
But I mean, it's not just that too. But there's also players will have different ideas about what the tone is. I mean, and different expectations about what they should do. Bad habits or like different habits. I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily bad habits, but like. Again, I think this goes into like...
Since we're going to pick on people that aren't here, dynamiting the train toilet instead of, trying to do something useful.
Sean in Mass. I don't think that was... I don't think that was baggage from another campaign, though. I think that was just him.
No. Yeah. It was just, player tone choices.
Yeah, player tone choices.
Was that before I joined you guys? Or?
Yes.
Okay. I don't remember that.
So that's something you definitely have to be aware of. I think... just communicating as early on as you can is sort of the best thing to do. But when those kind of things come up, I mean, I don't know. What do you, Caleb? Do you have any thoughts on dealing with those kind of things?
I haven't seen a ton of that baggage stuff in campaigns I've run because, like, by the time we did No Evil, you guys had kind of addressed
Yeah.
Maybe don't do that again for the 80th time. And we didn't have anything like that in No Soul Left Behind or anything like that.
Yeah.
So,
It's because there was a girl there.
I don't think that's...
I know you were all scared and good behavior.
Right.
But we survived and moved on. So I haven't had to deal with that very much. But then again, I'm a relatively noob to the hobby. So
Yeah.
I haven't been playing with the same people since junior high, like a lot of people here. So
Yeah. Well, no, Tom and I high school, not junior high. So yeah.
We have to draw a bright line around that.
I don't talk to anyone I met in college anymore on purpose and actively avoid them. I can't imagine going back to high school and still being friends with someone for not to mention like gaming with them. So yeah.
All right.
We left the fun factory behind.
You know one thing, when you're starting a new campaign, a lot of times, like I think we're RPPR, we're kind of unusual in that we usually have sort of, I think by tabletop standards, a really tightly like plotted or structured campaign relative to most RPG sessions. Most campaigns they start and they're like, yeah, let's just play D&D, and I got this idea, and let's just see where it goes, you know, and. So they're kind of open-ended, and the GM doesn't have an end game. I mean,
you doing that for the Base Raiders campaign.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I could ever do that. Like the fact that you started the game and you had all this stuff plotted out and like this good meta story, and you told us what to do, and then you didn't know what to title it.
Yeah.
Like my brain would not. Like I'd come up with a title first and build a campaign around that, like as a theme. Or that's how I would do it. Or I always have like some sort of end goal in mind.
Well, I do have an end game in for Base Raiders that it's by the time once you get to high power, like 30 skill points. You're currently 20 skill points and 6 refresh low power characters, and I want to see where you get you get to 30 skill points and 10 refresh as a high power character. And so like once then you're equal to any of the pre-gens in the back of the book, you know, like Iconoclast or Knight Errant, or any, you know, the iconic characters.
Yeah.
So that would be near the end game. So hopefully by then there's some kind of plot.
Well, that
we can resolve. But I don't have. Yeah, it's not about like saving the world or solving the mystery of Ragnarok per se.
Great tagline.
Yeah.
Gate 9. Yeah. Hopefully there's some kind of plot.
We will reach a destination at some point.
The most I've done with that kind of stuff is No Soul Left Behind, in which half of every session was sort of freeform what your plot was. And that was really gratifying, and I liked seeing everybody's subplots, but I still wanted like the ultimate mystery of Triskaideka to be
and you also
focus.
had it structured around the school year too.
Yeah, and then so some sort of structure to help aid that along. And then the only thing I've started with having no idea where it goes is Dungeon World, and boy, that's gone far. We just. I feel like
if you'd just drink more.
I'm working on it.
Well, I'll say that. Well, with the Colossus Archipelago, it's. Honestly, that's kind of our playground. That we can kind of go back there for funsies whenever.
Yeah,
we want.
I don't regret, because like that was my intention though. It wasn't like I want to start a campaign and then maybe it'll be that and maybe it'll be. I'd be like, no, I'm going to drink when I run this, and I don't care what happens. Like it was still a plan to not have a plan. Like if that makes any sense.
Sure.
So, but if I don't start with an end in mind, we just won't reach it.
Yeah, and you bring up good points about that, because I'll admit I'm fairly ignorant about some of these other podcasts when they just set up like the continuing story with no clear goal in mind. At least setting up that one little brass ring at the very end, even if it's just a small little thing, provides so much stability. Because before doing stuff with RPPR, I can remember the countless games that Tom and I did with like David or a couple other people, and then sometimes you that just kind of petered out every once in a while.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's more the common experience, because I've heard so many times with people like, we had a campaign, it lasted 5 sessions, and then we never played it again. You know, or we went for fun, or it's either that or like, we have played since 1979, and we have gone through 1,800 generations of player characters.
Yeah,
and thousands of years ago.
And I've experienced that on the both ends too, because like in one end, we, like Tom, David, and I, by some miracle, managed to keep the Gargoyles game running with just the 3 of us for almost 2 years. I don't know how we did that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had, with our friend Andy, who's in Seattle, we had his game where whenever he would come back, so it was kind of a plot line, but again, we never see each other anymore, so that's pretty much just left dangling in the wind now.
I feel like life is going to cancel your series, and that's going to mess your narrative up.
Yeah.
Guys, is that an existential fortune cookie? Life is going to cancel
I don't know.
your series.
I mean, Twin Peaks. Real cool, weird, every individual episode, canceled, no resolution. So it's just kind of this weird thing that's like, oh, that had potential, then it didn't happen. And then what's your alternative? It had potential and it didn't finish forever. Or it comes back.
Yeah.
And you're real skeptical about it. And you're not sure if you're happy about that or not. Or Lost, in which... No, it should have ended and not had a resolution. That would have been better for all of us. I feel like those are your three end states when you just kind of wander into the narrative and hope for the best. So, I mean, that's why I'm always skeptical to start without some kind of end in mind.
Okay.
Even if, like, there's a lot of leeway and room for characters to build subplots and stuff within that, I do think, like, something needs to happen. So, like, if I run Unknown Armies, that's why I'm so psyched about the new edition. You have a goal now. Like, it's a player set goal, and everyone works on it together, but that's the goal you're working towards. And if something changes, you can change that goal, but you still have a target the narrative is moving forward, because otherwise I think you just get, like, crazy Twin Peaks magic crap, and then you move on. Yeah, so I'm of the mind that you should definitely have an endpoint.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, so there is a loose one with base raiders, and that's kind of a, like, once the players get enough experience to be badasses, and then but other than that, like, I kind of want you to define, like, how, so in a sense, it is how do you change the world, or do you choose to be, withdraw from the world? So you guys haven't defined what the plot is yet, so I want to let you define that to a certain degree. But anyways.
Be honest, Ross.
Yeah.
There's a Carcosa out there somewhere waiting for us in Base Raiders.
Of course.
We already did that, like, way back when it was still in GURPS.
Age of Masks, and that was Mutants and Masterminds.
Yes.
Was it Mutants?
Age of Masks was a Mutants and Masterminds.
That was in GURPS. Oh, no, I'm remembering something else.
After we beat Cthulhu and Heroes of New Arcadia, Merlin came and wrecked our shit.
Yeah.
So... There's some sort of cosmic entity on his.
And that wasn't Cthulhu. It was my reskinned Galactus. I don't hear it. I'm original. There is that. There will. I mean, obviously there would be a Carcosa or whatever. But again, it's like, what do you guys?
Obviously,
the thing about Base Raiders is that it's every superhero trope. Like, it's everything.
But we don't have to curve off.
You don't have to. You don't have to touch on it. You can choose to. I can present that plot hook, and you can just run away from it and be like, "Nah, I want to be cat burglars."
It'll be in the background, staring at us wistfully.
Yeah. It just depends on how much you want to rub your faces on it, which is the standard player character
powers. Okay, rub your face on it.
Judging by the one session so far, I think our reaction to that question is pretty much always going to be yes.
No, exactly. When presented with 7 different superpower sources, you're like, yes.
There are only 6 of us. We need to engineer some way to fix this.
Yeah. Apparently. Yeah.
I got it. Don't worry, guys. I handled it.
You did.
Yeah, so I guess there is an end game for Base Raiders, but I don't know what it is yet because I want to be collaborative. It's like, what do you guys want it to be?
Right.
So I'll present opportunities and moral dilemmas. Like a BioWare game.
Yeah.
Do you pet the puppy and get +1 hero point, or do you kick the puppy and get +1 evil point? Either way, you get an awesome magic item, and that's about free will and the choice of morality.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, according to a BioWare game, it is.
And your 3-colored
because you level up either way, But yeah.
Don't talk about Mass Effect around me.
Too soon.
E3's Summoning Stuff from Andromeda.
Yeah, there's
no. I won't even watch the trailer.
So yeah, I mean, are there any kind of other things you like to see? I mean, aside from the stuff you like to see, talking about goals and making sure we're all on the same page, that kind of stuff. Are there any warning? I mean, obviously there are warning signs and there are bad things that can happen if players or the GM, especially, is like way too creepy or just like, ugh. That's obvious. But like, are there more subtle things? I don't know.
If it's obviously going to be Aaron's shower of PDFs game, I want nothing to do with it.
I will say, make sure everyone's investment level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably should have made an executive decision and pulled out of Knights Black Agents.
Yeah.
Very soon. But I was like, oh no, they're just getting into it. They were not getting into it. It was a game that David and I were playing and having a great time, in which other people occasionally physically were present. And you were in there too. You picked up as well, but like Tom and Jason. Oh God. And I as much as I loved that character and I loved the premise of that game, and I really want to play Night Spike Agents again, like as a campaign with like people who give a damn. Like dragging them through the narrative was just exhausting. So that probably should have been like my first cue. Like if you're picking up on like physical social cues that the person is not into what you're doing at the very beginning, like make some effort to do that. Make some effort to get them in there. But when it's clear that's not going to work, like shut it down. Like before you get 10 sessions in and they're a lodestone around your neck. So yeah.
I never thought about it. I mean, there have been games like that that I've played in where it was just draining to be in because I know there was like a mage game that I was in where a campaign,
World of Darkness.
No, it was World of Darkness. That was one, but it was the GM would do these long scenes with one player at a time, and everyone else just had to wait around for that one scene to end, and then it's like, oh, now it's your turn. Here's blah 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 blah. It was also really a mistake for me joining in like halfway through the campaign as a new character and be like, the Red Baron's back. I'm like, who the fuck is the Red Baron? Oh, he's bad. Don't worry about him. He's bad. I mean, we're worried about him, but it's too much to get into. He's bad. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. So
it's World of Darkness you weren't meant to know.
Yeah, it was a mistake. But yeah, there's certainly that, and there have been other games where player participation level and skill mastery level were really variant.
But also kind of going with the opposite side of that on the GM, where you want to make sure that once you have them out in those first couple sessions, start trying to plan out what a small individual arc for each of these characters would look like. So you don't want to basically do one session per character where it's just it's the Caleb show or the Tom show. But plan those.
You want to advance everyone's plots, and that's the other thing. Yeah, I think the biggest one, if you have players who are invested, is that they don't have subplots. You know, if they don't want to do anything, if they don't have anything show up, and like, oh my god, why am I even doing this?
You can kidnap their mothers, and then they'll eventually get around to it. I think scheduling is another red flag. Don't get invested in a campaign if like the guy's canceling 2 out of every 3 times because you're probably not going to finish it. Like why take that time when you could just be having like a satisfying one shot rather than something that fizzles and never ends. Like,
or players, especially players who get. I mean, that's really true. Even if they insist that they want to play but they just can't, if they keep canceling on you, if they keep like, it's just it's either you're being really passive aggressive or it's just not going to work. Either way, because there have been people with the RPPR group that I've invited, and like I invite, I can't make it. And then I send out 2 or 3 more invitations, and I can't make it. I'm like, well, I'm going to stop inviting you because you're not going to show up. So what's the point? It's not going to get better.
That might be another good thing to think about before you start a campaign is like the codependence of the characters. Like the structure of the narrative, is it going to allow for someone not to be there? Or is it going to make the story really freaking stupid? Like when we play tested Better Angels.
Yeah.
And we were having but when we canceled it, when we said screw it, no more, it was because Better Angels has that codependence of like everyone playing each other's demon, so it really screws up the entire play dynamic if nobody shows up, and so that's different than like Dungeon World. Drunk play, which is like, oh no, they're off doing something. Who's here tonight? And like that's not a big deal.
No,
as opposed, so like you need to look at the narrative and the mechanical structure of the game and decide how scheduling is going to affect that. I mean, especially if you're not doing like individual episodic sessions, but like if it's something like the early playtests of Red Markets, where like jobs were frequently going over one session and we were continuing the next job, like where did Steve go?
Yeah.
In the middle of the gunfight, like that kind of stuff. So,
No, that's a really good point. And some systems are more vulnerable to this than others. Obviously, No Soul Left Behind, or Better Angels is more vulnerable to this. But there are other games like, I know, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like one player is the Slayer. And so if the Slayer's not fucking there, you're going to have a tough time with those vampires, just your Scoobies, you know. But like any game can have that happen because you could always like... A lot of GMs will pull their plots from other sources, and so if you do a fantasy game where there is a chosen one and you're all his companion ones to save the evil, and so if Frodo isn't playing and Frodo doesn't show up for 6 seasons, 6 games, you're like, well, he's somewhere near Mount Doom. He'll get there any day.
Read the appendices, find out.
Let's go fight some more orcs.
Well, I mean, no evil worked out because it could be in Eclipse Phase. You can have a TPK and keep the campaign going,
yeah.
But like. When the combat monster, the guy whose entire character concept is murdering things, doesn't show up for literally the biggest fight in the campaign, and you all get wrecked. I'm like, if that hadn't been Eclipse Phase, I would have had to be like, let's not do this tonight, and not said why, because like, if that had been like D&D, it's just over. Like the game's just done. Like so, you got to be careful about that kind of stuff.
That's true. Bill, any thoughts on that? Or
I had something a minute ago.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll circle back around.
Okay. Well, there are other issues with, especially starting a new campaign, like if certain players have asymmetric demands. If there's one player who really is like, I want to do my thing every game, or something like that, that's kind of a warning sign. Or like they try to coerce the campaign into a certain direction right at the beginning. And that I feel happens a lot, especially in new campaigns. They're like, you have your hack and slash player, and like, oh, I'm going to be running a game of political intrigue and diplomacy and blah.
I smite the king with my sword.
Yes, and you're like, why the fuck are you doing that? I don't know, just felt like it. Chaotic neutral,
sharp negotiations.
Yeah. And then it turns into a hack and slash game because the hack and slasher guy wants to hack and slash, and he gets bored because he's not hack and slashing. So the answer is don't invite the hack and slasher or, adjust your game. So I feel like and a lot, I don't want to say most players are like this, but there's always that one guy who's just willing to crash an entire campaign right at the start because he doesn't get what he wants.
And I think like something important to keep in mind there is like, not everybody has the plethora of players that the RPPR group does these days, and so it's easy to feel like, well, but we have to include Hack and Slash Steve because otherwise we've only got 2 other people.
We use his house. He has the best snacks.
Right,
he is the Dorito gremlin.
But there is an extent to which like you as a GM deserve to run a game that you actually want to run and will have fun running.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
That's true.
There's probably some sort of, wishy-washy middle ground kind of solution there, but...
Google Hangouts is really good, guys. Like, it drops not nearly as much as Skype.
Yeah.
Just, if you have a shitty real-life group, get a okay long-distance group.
Go to the RPPR forums and organize the Red Markets game.
Like playing online is not my favorite, especially since I am spoiled for being able to play an RPG pretty much any night of the week.
Yeah.
I want to. But it's not bad. And there are a lot of people who have like really stable group, an entire podcast now.
Yeah, technical difficulties.
Just because they found an online group they like.
Yeah. I will put. That reminds me of technical difficulties. Sent me a promo that I will play it. I will put into the beginning of this.
Don't marry yourself to like running a game you hate because the players suck.
Because Steve.
Because hack and slash.
Absolutely. Because that's something else that we brought up the other year before last, last year when we. When Matt Travis and I were doing the Skype panel, is that just put random for whatever forum that you belong to. It's like whether it be things on Reddit, SA, or otherwise, just put out a feeler and say, is anybody else interested in playing the game? Worst case scenario.
If you're listening to this podcast, go to the RPPR forums. And ask for people.
RPPR forums do.
And then it's even better than because you're not posting up like a flyer at the electronic game shop anymore either. Because so many video games are online in multiplayer now, and there's a big cross section of that Venn diagram. So if you like playing with Destiny with so and so, maybe you'll like playing a RPG with so and so. You know what I mean? So.
And the other new problem is especially starting a new campaign is the players don't want to learn a new system, which
Yeah.
happens a lot, and that's sort of the biggest thing. So,
Kind of branching off of that, what I was thinking of a few minutes ago came back around to me. It's something I've been mulling on a little lately relative to another thing. But, like, if it's the sort of game, and I'm thinking more of, like, narrative kind of games here that require a certain amount of effort on the part of the players, like, not even necessarily in a, like, you know, sitting there at the table every time to sort of differentiate this from the Tribes of Tokyo discussion. But, like, if there's front end work that needs to be collaborative, like, if you don't think your player group will do that with you, that's probably a great sign you maybe need to think about running something else.
Yeah. If your players aren't willing to do a minimum, like a modicum of work in order to, like, if they expect the GM to do everything for them,
right?
Yeah.
But, like, even on from there, I guess sort of the larger point I'm making is that, like, if you've fallen so in love with the idea of the game you want to run that you're willing to, you know, do their homework for them. Maybe, you know, have I become codependent to my own game scenario?
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah,
don't run Spark, the RPG, and then make up the setting entirely yourself and give them pre-gen characters.
Right.
Like, the purpose of that RPG is to design its own setting with its own moral values and ethics and that kind of stuff, and then role play that out. And you need to do that together.
Right.
You're missing the point if you just design it from the ground up and not everyone's equally invested.
Yeah.
Or as another example, don't do Dresden Files if you can't do the collaborative city creation aspect as much. Because, at least with some of the players, you know, don't just create the city on your own because you want to run Dresden. Well, no, Dan had players input onto.
Oh yeah,
He did. Like, he did a majority of the legwork because he knew Dresden the best. But
right, but everyone had their input into it.
Yeah.
So, so that's definitely something to think about. Don't get. Because I know a lot of GMs will put in way more, sort of an aside, like, this is kind of like when GMs put in way more world building. Like, oh, here's this continent that I use from a map generator. Let's just go into the demographics of every city in here. You know, this one has 30% elves, 20% halflings, and their trade is this. And their history goes to, and the players start 500 miles away. So let's get everything between this X and this X.
Can you name the five first stewards of this township?
Exactly. Yeah. Just like. And that could be fun just as a hobby on its own as world building, but, like, it's orthogonal to, like, running a game. It's not the same as running a game.
And I think that goes back to the deeper issue of, like, investment levels, because you're like, I read this book called Speed Tribes and Tokyo and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, oh, my character will be through this because it's part of the police force, but it's technically a national thing, and I'm like researching
forger,
and then forger sniper, or I'm an American. Why are you there? Because for reasons, because Ross made me play the game here. Why is everyone not named Kyle? Like that, you know.
To be fair, no. I asked that one of the players be a foreigner. Like, I wanted a foreigner in the group, so, like, the token foreigner.
Yeah, and then, like,
so that you can't blame on.
When I thought about doing
Forger Sniper,
when I thought about doing Night's Black Agent, I wanted to do this big world hopping Wikipedia thing that, like, responds to current events and all that kind of stuff. I still would like to do that one day with players that are obviously
sounds fascinating.
Do it.
Yeah, but,
like, at the time I wrote all that out, I looked at the play group and, like, no, I'm just repeating the exact same mistake. So, like,
we can't go back there.
Yeah, we can't go back there again because it's going to be like, all right, you're in Turkish Cyprus, and, you know, it's about navigating the line between the Greek and Turkish Cypriot, and there's only two passing places, and then I just know, like, out of 3 characters would be like, where's the gun store? And I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't want to do that again because the investment level would be, you know, it would be too. And I think that leads to, like, I think there's such a thing as abusive game relationships. I think I think there are a lot of, like, really dedicated GMs that are GMs because everyone else at the table is an Abdignation fund guy, and you might as well, and actually be better off just having a poker night.
Or board game.
Where you play, or a board game night where you're like playing for pretzel sticks or something. Like, because that person puts in a ton of investment, no one else gives a damn, and that leads to like rage quitting and blowing up a social event. That would be better if you just played like Concept or something.
Or Hero Quest, which I hear it is the best game ever.
Or Drunk Quest.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be like that sort of put upon GM that's like throwing pearls before swine every week.
No, yeah. I feel our podcast is mostly geared toward game masters because they're the ones who are going to be mostly paid listening to an RPG podcast anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who care more about the game than anybody else. So.
All of you out there who just play games but are listening to this realize that there's a certain extent to which you're the chosen people.
Yeah.
Your dedication does not go unnoticed.
But yeah, I mean, as a player, there are things you can do to help out to help ensure a campaign gets off to the right start, and like the stuff we talked about, like having a tone, thinking about your character. Players can have a good positive effect on other players. Lead by example. If you're the one like, I have this backstory and I want to do this and blah 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 blah, and people are like, oh, that sounds cool. Well, and then they if they realize that's expected of them, then they're more likely to maybe make a story. So obviously it doesn't always work because great backstory versus Forger Sniper, but sometimes it does, and you just have to try. So I don't know. I mean, starting a new campaign can be really like, oh my god, a lot of worry, and can cause a lot of anxiety for some people, but for other people, I'm excited by it. I'm purposely making this more open ended because I just want to see what happens, and I want to have a change of pace than what I usually do, which is Fallen Flag, very focused story, duality. Meandering, but it had a definite end. It had sort of a metagame goal, which was to tour the outer system and do some gate crashing, and then go fight, some bad guys.
But just like you asked us all if we could do it, and we're all like, yeah, that sounds fun. And then you're like, it's going to be like this. And like, yeah, that sounds great. And you looked at our body language, and no one was like rubbing their toe into the ground, and be like, I guess. That's usually a good sign that it's time to start on that. So.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So yeah, I mean, Caleb, your games have always been very focused. Like God's
to a fault.
To a fault.
I'll be the first to admit.
Yeah. And Bill, Armitage Files is going great so far. So can't wait till. We'll be posting that soon. Actually,
it's true.
So, and Aaron, Atomic Robo was fun, of course, and we went into the postmortem stuff. And again, I feel like there were problems with, certain issues with players.
Yeah, well,
that we went into in great detail.
But also on my end too, it's providing more of a focus at the end too, because like I said, whereas. Like I said, God's Teeth and Armitage have more of a focus. That ended up being freeform until I could kind of control the two ending, because realistically that was actually built on the shoulders of 3 games that I did for the Patreon, and then I suddenly thought maybe I could take this a little bit further. Oh God, what have I gotten myself into?
So. And that's the thing, like running one shots helps you figure out what you want to do for your next campaign too. I think running games is like anything else, just practice makes perfect. So like even if you can run one shots, that helps, and that's where the online stuff, again, Google Hangouts works pretty well now. And there's other voice over IP apps now. There's like Discord,
which was pretty good. So,
worked pretty well, and there's a bunch of other stuff. So even though Skype is terrible now,
terrible,
it is so bad. I can't believe it's gotten this bad. Like 2 years ago,
we
could
drop
record
that much because I haven't used it.
No, like they
get out your phone and call your game group. It will work better. Yeah,
AT&T somehow.
No, you
sucks
can't
less
record
than
to it. You can't record Skype calls anymore easily. Like
what?
You have to use different. Like you have to record the system software basically. Like I got an app called Pamela that would allow me to record. And that doesn't work anymore.
Oh, they shut that out. Damn.
They've disabled the recorder API for it, so it's kind of.
Jeez,
terrible.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. So, anyways, on that note, we'll be playing some music, and then we're going to be back. Shout-outs and anecdotes from one of Tom's recent games.
Bet it's going to be Vaporwave.
That was
the anecdote.
Well, that's in the base race game. Oh, spoiler. Anyways,
Shoutouts and anecdotes.
We're back.
Woo,
All right. Shoutouts and
Vaporwave.
anecdotes. Vaporwave.
What's the Vaporwave song?
Oh, yeah. No, it's all going to be Vaporwave. It's Vaporwave.
Until some new kind of
I
electronic.
found a
that
great
Ross is
Vaporwave
moving
DJ,
into.
Haircuts for Men. He's based in Honolulu. No, it's great. Like,
Ross, have you gotten into hopcore yet?
not yet.
All right, new game for the podcast. You tell me about something that's going on for Vaporwave, and it's a 50-50 shot whether it's actually happening or you just made it out and pulled it out of your ass. And then we try and guess which it is, because that sounds ridiculous.
What? There's a
DJ called Haircuts for Men.
Okay. The latest drama involves Oscob fighting with Hong Kong Express about over the Dream catalogs, taking out Dogecoin as a artist in their album list.
That is true.
That's real because you told me about it before.
Yeah.
Well, Dogecoin is not.
Dogecoin is not.
Yeah.
But everything else you
right.
actually mentioned.
I had to think about it to come up with it.
That was a trick. That's
Yeah,
bullshit.
I mean, not right now. You just need to prep in future.
I will.
For Vaporwave or Bullshit, the new RPPR game.
This actually sounds like a plot generator for Shadowrun.
It does, doesn't it? But anyways, we should probably have some shout-outs.
Oh, yeah.
So recently, I have, let's say, there's a documentary I watched on Netflix. It's pretty entertaining, called Electric Boogaloo, which is the story of Canon Film, which is basically during the 80s, late 70s or 80s, was a film production company
hyper nationalist American films made by Israelis.
Yes, by Israelis, by two Israeli guys who were super enthusiastic about movie, but had no taste.
No.
Literally no taste.
I was trying to think earlier because there was like one super legit movie that they actually made.
Oh, they did
it
several.
Was He-Man, wasn't it?
They did. Well, that was a movie that I would not describe that as legitimate.
Well, no.
I mean, it is a movie and that has a beginning, middle, and end.
Well,
it would qualify under that.
My favorite part of He-Man is when they run out of money.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
It
Ross.
just goes to the suburbs.
Ross, I think you're missing the point. The greatest thing that ever happened in that movie, we had Frank Langella's Skeletor. And he got into that
they
part.
mentioned-
just, I mean, it ran on, syndication and midday movies in the 90s.
King Solomon's Mines, Life Force.
Which did not run on
Breaking, what was it? Breaking and Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo, both the rapping dance movies, hip hop movies, tons of movies, including
You are missing the classics.
Go ahead.
Invasion USA.
Invasion USA, yeah, that's right.
In which Chuck Norris single-handedly saves the entire United States from Mexa-Russians. Those are Mexican Russians.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
You hit gold.
It is a fascist wet dream. The only reason he joins to fight the invasion of the USA from immigrant Mexican Russians is because they blow up his swamp house, and he just gets on a goddamn airboat and goes ape shit with an Uzi.
This seems topical somehow.
And then there's Cobra.
Yeah.
Where Marion Cobretti, the name of the character,
Sylvester
Stallone, who only eats pizza, is trying to save a supermodel from a cult of serial killers in the 80s that is no shit like 2,000 men strong.
Oh, God damn it. I know I remember it when I watched it with you guys.
Hundreds of them.
Serial killers.
Oh, yeah, they come out. It's like Assault on Precinct 13 where they confuse criminals for cockroaches. Like, they come out of the walls. Like, half the police force are like cultist serial killers. Like, it's nuts.
See, and one of my favorite things about that entire movie was the fact that he had an entire crime lab in his apartment. Just all of this equipment.
Also, he drove a Studebaker.
Yes.
He had a wider range of fully automatic weapons. Was constantly chewing a toothpick.
Oh, and what about
everything about it's great?
And what about that poor guy he kept bumping into when he was parking and just beating the living shit out of
the
him?
guy in the purple pants,
the purple hammer pants.
Sounding more and more like a non-comedic version of the Dragnet movie.
Yeah.
Oh God! The final 30 minutes of Cobra is just him shooting serial killers.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Just not hundreds. And the guy who plays the main serial killer, he's the bad guy in X-Files, the alien guy.
Oh, the alien bounty hunter.
Yeah, the alien bounty hunter. He he chews so much scenery. It is the most beautiful piece of overacting I have ever seen. It is just like it's Jeff Goldblum in Death Wish ridiculous.
And Death Wish is another. They did not do Death Wish, but they did Death Wish 2 through 5.
When you're not good enough for Death Wish.
Go to
So the documentary is about this studio and this company and how they made all these schlocky movies and how Hollywood disrespected them, but the guys were just like, screw it, we'll throw money at it, we'll do this movie, we'll do it. And they actually did some art movies, like they did Runaway Train.
And Life Force.
They did do Life Force.
Do you want to see Patrick Stewart
but they did
from every
do
orifice?
some good movies.
I mean, every orifice.
But yeah, it's about cinema. So it's a great documentary. They interview the actors, the directors, and a lot of people about it. But there is a lot of nudity.
Yeah, be careful. They basically started in Israel just making pornography.
Yeah.
So the early part of it is a lot of nudity.
Oh,
So
it's scattered throughout.
They just try to dovetail into legitimate.
Well, I mean, they show clips from Life Force, and Life Force is basically a naked woman destroying London with vampire powers.
Space vampire.
Space
Yes,
vampire. Yes,
powers.
thank you. Very impressive.
Vampire.
Vampire.
And so, speaking of Netflix, you saw a thing on Netflix.
Something actually I've been looking very forward to, being the giant robot nerd that I am. So that would be DreamWorks Productions' Voltron's Legendary Defender. This is a reboot.
Wait, is that the actual full title?
Voltron Legendary Defender. So,
Okay,
Not the
so it's not DreamWorks Productions Voltron.
no, I was just identifying
It's
it.
not
This
named
isn't
like a Kingdom Hearts sequel.
No, it's not.
This isn't a
no,
prestige
not Dream
piece
Drop
for them.
Distance, Birth by Sleep. We figured this out.
Tactile
Give us more
Hyper
money.
X2
Yeah.
Evangelion.
Yeah. So, this is actually this is produced by DreamWorks. It's actually being showrun by Joaquin Dos Santos, who is best known for working on Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra, and I believe the revised Thundercat series that Cartoon Network killed, sadly. But it's actually ended up being really good. They've actually taken a lot of the humorous aspects from what you saw in Avatar and Korra, applying it to the new characters. This one is actually very much it takes aspects from the old one, because if you watch the original series and know anything about its history, it's actually like 3 different anime series spliced into one.
Nice. That's what they should do with all anime.
Yeah, which would kind of be fun to do at this day and age, but as it is, you would hear the screaming of millions of weeaboos. So, but it really is interesting enough. The fun thing is that it actually doesn't end. Every episode doesn't end with the giant robot fight. I think Voltron forms all of, I wouldn't say 6 to 7 times the entire. 6 times the entire series.
You're done. This is done.
Yeah,
Yep.
this was not what I signed up.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
And there's
Has to transform all the time.
and there's character development
Ugh.
and agency and. It's like
Not a giant robot.
and there's actually one little secret.
You ruined
that
my childhood.
I'm sure one little secret's going to ruin everybody's childhood.
Yeah.
Are they still child soldiers? Like,
So-
do you still like just put the youngest
Wrong
kids?
Yeah.
in
That's
there?
every anime,
Yeah,
all right?
well, no. The thing is, they're teenagers. The way that they set up is that they were kind of teenage cadets.
Isn't Voltron the one on Alliance?
Yeah, the Lions.
Yeah, those are kids.
Yeah.
Like, those are young ass kids.
Like teenagers
in tanks.
Well, teenagers is
city
20s.
destroying tanks.
Yeah. No, those are ones, but in this case, they actually get pulled off into a wormhole, because one of them actually is related to two of the characters who get kidnapped by the evil force. I forget their name anymore. Doesn't really matter. But I think the youngest character is probably maybe 14. I think everybody else is supposed to be like either 16 to 20.
Yeah, my Grimdark Voltron's like Snowbreaker. They're the only ones that can fit amongst all the gears.
But no,
anyone over 4'5" will be chewed to pieces.
Does your Grimdark Voltron also involve Tilda Swinton? Because I would watch it.
Yes,
yes,
definitely does.
but
You're actually fighting a giant Tilda Swinton.
I don't want to. Yeah.
but no,
5 out of 7.
But no, if you're wanting to watch something that has a little bit of that 80s aesthetic, but also has much more of the design and storytelling of the late 2000s with good people from good series, then this is a show that I think you'll enjoy.
Child soldiers, yay! All right,
Yeah.
Caleb, you been playing some video games. Speaking of fighty things.
So I mentioned The Witcher 3 before, but Blood and Wine came out, and it's like 15 extra hours of content for like a $15 DLC.
Dang,
and
Gina.
then like
Good for
Hearts
them.
of Stone is really good too, plus all of the additional missions and stuff like that. So I just restarted a playthrough of Witcher just because I want to make different choices and then encounter it in spurts through the main plot
So you
rather
wanna
than
kick
doing
the puppy
separately.
instead of pet it.
Yes, doing it separately. But I mean, it's just nuts. I am so excited for the CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk game because like they're the best game developers on the market right now. It's just like $60 for a game. They were awful to women and any kind of social justice stuff before. They heard lessons and like changed that shit in The Witcher 3. And then you're paying $60 for like what is now a 200-hour RPG experience with all the DLC. It's just pretty amazing. I wish every game company was like. Meanwhile, Destiny's probably going to give me one new strike and a raid, and I'm going to pay $30 for it. And then they're going to say, "Oh, you got a shader now. Congrats!"
Okay.
And then spit on me as they count my money, and I'm going to accept it. 'Cause
Caleb,
it's Destiny.
Caleb.
But
just don't accept it anymore. Don't tell no to Jeb. Tell no to everybody. You can get off this bandwagon. It's not too
all
late.
right,
Look, I'm on. I can't,
we all
I can't
have our addictions.
We all have
None
our
of you
addictions.
can fucking critique me.
Yeah.
None of you can judge me. All right.
No,
I'm not judging. I'm begging.
I'm with Caleb. I'm in
5
Payday
days
too.
since I
They
last
added
played
Ron
Overwatch.
Perlman to Payday.
Oh God, yeah, I know. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, we get Ron Perlman as a Payday heister guy. So
He's pretty much his character from.
on a train.
He's pretty much his character from
That's
Son
all
of
that it
Anarchy.
takes to please me. I'm that bad. And speaking of gaming stuff, Bill, you got a new keyboard?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because my old one was very flat and very, very membrane. This one's still membrane, but it has somewhat clickier keys. At any rate, it's the SteelSeries Apex 350,
Yeah.
which was a nice combination of the features I like in a keyboard and a little bit more slant to go with my higher desk than I had previously. And yeah, I mean, also not expensive. Like that was the good part. Like MSRP is like 100 even, but it was like 72 on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
which
No,
was
that's not
quite a
bad at all.
discount.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
See, I never understood. Like, I mean, I use an Microsoft ergonomic keyboard because
It works.
my wrists.
See, I use an Ergo keyboard at work all day,
Yeah.
so I figure, no more gaming than I actually do. I can
Yeah.
afford to give myself that much carpal tunnel.
Okay, well, it's worth it for the
yeah.
clacky key because they clack.
It wasn't just that. Like
Okay.
I am unreasonably picky about like volume keys and macro keys. And
Oh, okay.
It had to have a keypad because I'm a data/accountant guy.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
So like
Yeah.
keypad or GTFO.
Yeah, no, definitely keypad.
no
Jesus.
pad, yeah.
What kind of fake keyboard doesn't have a keypad on it?
Well, most gaming keyboards.
Ugh, terrible, shameful. And
Spoken like a true accountant.
speaking of accounting, I've recently finished a book, Hot Art.
It's a hell of a segue.
Because accounting comes up a lot in it, because it's about the art theft and the black market for stolen artwork, and how there is basically no accounting for art.
Taste.
Or, well, actually the art itself. A lot of cash transactions. It's poorly regulated at best, and there's little provenance in the way of stolen artwork. So basically, it's the world's fourth largest black market after guns, drugs, people. It's art. And now, because what's happening now in the last decade or so is that criminals are beginning to use these as ways, as basically currency. Like if you have $1 million painting, you could use that to pay off a debt or sell it to someone else, and then it'll just pass hands. Like like part of the book talks about how they raid drug dealers' houses, and like, oh yeah, this junkie stole a painting from a museum to pay off his debt, and it's like, well, all right, I'll count that.
So what you're saying is when we see a Mexican cartel on Antiques Roadshow,
And the other way they use it is also to That's actually one thing that they do is to
I'd
use
play that
stolen artwork.
fiasco game.
Oh yeah,
I want to see that skit so bad. It's like, I don't think it's worth that much. Some guy snaps his fingers. A guy in like full meth cooking gear comes over with like a 55-gallon drum, starts pouring caustic fluids into it. Guy with face tattoos starts cocking a gun. No, it's worth a lot.
Oh, no,
it's worth a lot.
Now, if you,
I'm sorry, I'll have it.
Okay, okay. Now, Mr. the Jackal, if you just if you invest a little bit for the UV protective frame and glass and maybe a little bit of restoration, 1,000, it'll be worth. Oh my God!
Yeah, it's not about the money anymore. It's about the reputation.
Well, that's another thing. Is actually like
Nobody screws with Noriega.
you laugh, but organized criminals are using like auction houses to like launder money. Like they'll just have straw buyers to buy like paintings and like then they like the auction house gets their cut, so they don't give a shit.
Write that down for your NBA games.
No, exactly. So and then of course there's art forgery too, because again like a lot of these high end artwork is sold through dealers who basically operate on trust and like having a good relationship with clients. It's all done in back rooms and done with cash, and so like it's just ripe for stolen artwork. And there's plenty of gameable ideas in this book because there's very little law enforcement looking at stolen artwork. Like the FBI has an art crime team, but that's 16 agents in the entire country. Scattered about, and then LA has an art crime detail, and New York might have one detective working on it. So that's it. Like, there's just nobody else. Like, there's very little being done about this.
It's like the one Dennis Leary character from damn it, what was the Pierce Brosnan art movie? I can't remember.
Thomas Crown Affair.
Thomas Crown Affair.
No. That's
actually basically just looking there going, "Fuck you all."
No. Actually, they bring that movie up again and again because they just point out what bullshit it is. Because they're not stealing because they love art. They're stealing shit because it's worth money. So it's a good book. There's a lot of cool gameable ideas, and especially for Night's Black Agents, but in any kind of crime game. They explain how the mechanics of it work. How like in London, they interview this guy who would case houses by going to him like, "Hey, I'm buying old antiques. Do you have any antiques you could buy?" And he'd just stroll through the house, get a tour, and like maybe buy something. And they'd be like, "Oh, that's worth $10,000. That's worth $5,000." And then like a week later, he hires a burglar to go in and steal this painting or something like that.
I'll say this for it.
Yeah,
I really want to see a Delta Green Brotherhood of the Yellow Sign game that revolves around a fundamental misunderstanding of the term art crime.
Okay. And stolen antiquities are a big thing too. Like, ancient artwork being dug up from the Middle East and being sold on the black market or on eBay. I mean, it happens all over the place. So it's not just modern artwork, but it's ancient shit too. So
Delta Green, the art crime unit is like the hardcore. Like you get transferred to art crime. There's like a lady just doing 5-finger fillet on the table. It's like chain smoking. They're playing Russian roulette.
Everybody has an eye patch.
What do you have? It's a statue this time. How old? Real old. Here's a drink.
All right, you're on art crime. Yeah. If you make it through 3 jobs, we'll transfer you out.
So, what are you carving on my chest? Pay you no mind, rookie.
I do want to mention some fiction that I'm not quite done reading, but we'll have full reviews in upcoming episodes. But I want to mention because they sent us review copies. One is Defying Doomsday, a anthology of sci-fi stories about disabled and chronically ill protagonists dealing with alien invasions and other apocalyptic events. And I feel this is very apropos because of Red Markets. This is, of course, for Red Markets, one of the main things is to include people with disabilities and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it looks really cool, and I haven't had a chance to read it because right now I am reading Cthulhu Sattva, Tales of Black Gnosis. Tales of the Black Gnosis. It's a collection of Cthulhu fiction, including one novella called Litany of Earth. And the whole theme around this is like Cthulhu as black and like dark enlightenment. Like, not just like, oh, I go crazy and it's terrible. It's like, oh, Cthulhu can provide wisdom or knowledge, and or the mythos can. So
you still go crazy, but
the alt-right.
Huh? No, what?
Oh.
No.
You said Dark Enlightenment.
No, don't go there.
Well, Black Gnosis, yeah, not that. That was slip of the tongue. Bill. It's actually really good so far. Litany of Earth is actually...
Ross doesn't want his site
Bill.
taken down from the inside.
God damn it, Bill.
Don't Google that term. So... The Litany of Earth is a novella about a woman who is basically a descendant of the people from Innsmouth, and they treat Innsmouth as like the Japanese internment camps. And so it's about her life. This novella was featured on Tor.com. It was very good. I read it before this anthology came out. So
yeah, me too. It is very good.
Yeah. But there's a bunch of other stories in it, too, that I haven't finished all of them yet. So I'll have a full review next episode. But let's see here. Aaron, we've been playing another video game, speaking of horror.
That's true. There was a game that Ross was kind enough to give me a beta key for called Dead by Daylight. Yeah. It is, I can't really say co-op, because what would it be identified as?
Asymmetrical.
Asymmetrical co-op? Okay.
Yeah, 4v1.
No, 4v1.
4 human survivor versus 1 Jason / Freddy slasher.
Yeah, so he's basically your general like Jason Voorhees Leatherface slasher. Yeah. You're all confined to an arena, which I believe is supposed to be like a mining camp. And
well, there'll be multiple stages.
Yeah, there are multiple stages, but in the beta, there's a mining camp. The survivors are supposed to work together to turn on 3 or 4 generators.
No, it's number of survivors plus 1.
No, okay, so it'll eventually increase behind that. So you have to turn on a certain number of generators in order to open a gate and get out of it. It really is actually good. It's pretty fun despite its bugs, which I feel that we need to point out one really hilarious one that happened.
Yeah.
During it, because
we streamed with a RPPR listener, Capitalocracy,
yes.
who is also does a podcast called Gibbermouth, and he streams on Twitch.
Yep.
So,
yes, we were streaming for that one night, and we went through a couple rounds where Ross was playing the killer and we did the survivors.
We altered
to turns. The neat thing is when you're the survivor is that you can hear your heartbeat increasing when the killer is around. And there's a lot of good places because they keep it dark enough where you can hide and stay out of sight. So, because when I was the killer, I had a hard time finding most everybody. But when you are captured, you are taken to an altar, which, strangely enough, is very reminiscent of the Fisher of Men.
Yeah.
So,
well, you're hung on a meat hook, and then you have like other survivors have a limited time to like rescue you from the meat hook, and if you're not, you're pulled into the sky by a giant monster.
Yeah, so it's basically make it out of the arena, or
it's very Fisher of Men.
Fisher of Men. Yeah. But you have places to hide. The survivors are a little bit quicker, and you can put down obstacles in front of the killer. Who's
you're faster than the survivor.
Yeah.
The killer's faster than the survivor.
Is he survivors? Okay,
yes.
So I thought the survivors were a little bit faster.
It would not work if the survivors could run away.
But anyway, what happened in this case? Because when we were playing, it was my first turn as a killer. I found Capital in one he had hidden in the closet, and the way we figured it out is that there's some glitch that must have happened, a collision error, when we opened the doors together, and it teleported me outside of the arena. I could see the walls, I could see the endless ocean of void, and I went around to see where it was, and they tested it out like, oh, we hear the heartbeat as you're coming towards the gate, but I could not do jack shit. Yeah. And then it got even better as I backed up and I fell through the ground. So I was just floating in the void as
She's a good girl.
So I think the thing is with this game, we kind of like the game does not have voice communication by default. We went into Discord to talk to each other, so even the killer could communicate with the victims. And I think that's the key to making this fun, is having it be a party game where everyone can shit talk each other.
Oh yeah, because
constantly.
I'm
gonna exactly.
Ross kept
smell you.
Well, Ross and Capital kept bitching at me because I wouldn't say anything until I was right on top of them, and I would just go, "Hi," stab.
Like I played it with random puppies, and it's obviously a much more stressful experience when you can't communicate with anybody. I don't know. Like the beta. I'm kind of on the fence. I actually got the full game, so I'll try it obviously when it gets full release. So I may, if you haven't got it yet, maybe wait for the full release and watch reviews or listen to read some reviews before you decide to buy it or not. So I mean, the beta was fun, but I don't know how much mileage I'm going to get out of it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth watching YouTubes of it. We'll probably play it again at some point for raillery or something like that.
So.
But yeah, Bill, you also had another review of something.
Yeah, I'm actually going to pull this one off. It wasn't on the list at all. I just remembered it, and I don't think anybody on here has shouted it out before. So Melissa finally conned me into an Audible subscription. So audiobooks, yay! But sort of has me branch out into stuff I wouldn't normally do. So I'm shouting out to the Southern Reach trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer.
Oh yeah,
is really fucking cosmic horror.
Yeah, I've mentioned that one before. It's weird.
Is that the one with the? No, that's he also. What's the one he did with the underground city with the mushroom people or whatever? That's Vandermeer, isn't it?
I think that's Finch.
Oh, okay.
So what was this about?
Southern Reach is like the Area X. That's like a part nature preserve, part Carcosa.
Yeah,
and it's just expect no explanation at any point.
Huh.
It's kind of great.
Whole thing. Yeah. It's just bizarre from front to back, and then it ends, and then another one starts, and it's also bizarre from front to back. Yeah.
Which, I kind of like that sort of thing, but from an imagery perspective, it's great fodder for Armitage. So,
no, it's really great writing. It's just, It's not weird fiction in the we'll get shotguns and try and shoot. It's
No.
weird as in what? Yeah.
Actually, Ross, I did have one other thing. It's a little bit more bigger news because it was tied into E3, but I want to mention this because I was something I thought was never going to come out. The Last Guardian. Team Ico's The Last Guardian in October.
Yeah, I'll believe it when it comes out.
I know, but
moving on.
I'm still going holy shit.
Moving on. I'll believe when it comes out. So Backpack of Holding, Bill?
Yeah. That's the thing I got off ThinkGeek on a sale. I'd at a distance lusted after it for 5 years and just never pulled the trigger. And I logged on one day and it was 40% off. And I was like, I'm going to get that bitch now. So I did, and it's a wonderful backpack. I can, it doesn't look like I should be able to fit a 17-inch laptop in there, but damned if I can't.
Extra dimensional.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
But yeah, the top
PDF
folds over very well to make sort of rainproof case and all that, and it's huge.
Yeah.
Nice. Speaking of huge things,
Also what she said.
I recently donated some materials to an art project called the Jerry Project. The people who do Everything is Terrible are attempting to collect every VHS copy of Jerry Maguire in existence and build a pyramid of them in the desert.
Like you
do. So I sent forth my contribution. They have over 12,000 copies right now.
It's currently in the form of a throne.
It's currently in the form of a throne. So if you ever go to a thrift store, if you have a Jerry Maguire tape, Google. I'll have a link. There's a P.O. box in L.A. that you can mail these to. And let's bring this art. This is a testament to our civilization. If we could have, because they will, in a dry, arid environment like that, it'll last forever. It could be an enclave.
Oh God, dude! What the hell are the neuromancers going to say about us when they find that shit?
Like Ozymandias. Look upon my works, you mighty of despair, and show me the money. Show me the money. I think I have to put that in a Red Markets game now, or Unknown Armies.
I hate your aesthetic sometimes. It's just it's actively hostile towards beauty.
I disagree.
Okay, Ross, do you remember
You're an aesthetic terrorist.
Ross, when he wasn't here.
What's your favorite type of music? Oh, the music they played at grocery stores from 1993 to 1997, brought through a synthesizer and slowed down with really angry industrial noise in the background.
Ross,
it's beautiful.
I'm going to remind you too that
I was going to say jazz, but that's good too.
Yeah, Ross, I'll remind you when he was away watching The Legends, trying to get our way through that. the anti-abortion video where the kid was playing the abortion.
Oh yeah, Legends being the 12 or 18-hour 3 DVD box collection of Everything Is Terrible montage.
It was funny at first, and then it wasn't, and then it was funny again, and then it really wasn't. And then it just kept going.
Yeah,
It gave no fucks.
you gaze upon it, and it gazes into you.
That is an Unknown Army scenario in a DVD box.
Finally, I would like to mention EasyRollerDice.com. They were kind enough to send us some review dice to try out, and a dice cup and some dice bags.
And a D4 that will kill a person.
Yeah, I have a metal dice set from them, and it's very fancy, sharp edged, and it makes a very loud noise when you thunk it on the table, roll it on the table. But it has, it's if you wanted good dice bags and good dice set, there's
So they are quality. How much was that? Did they say?
I don't know.
It's like $49 or
probably.
Okay.
I'm Rouse Payton. I get free samples.
I get review copies, and I reviewed it, and they will be mentioned in several actual plays. So be a keen listener and like EasyRollerDice.com.
Except when we roll it, like, what was that noise?
Yeah, exactly. So I think finally we have anecdotes, and I feel we should mention one thing. Tom recently ran Call of Cthulhu that Caleb and Aaron were both in, where it was World War II. It was not Divine Fire.
Drink.
Amazingly enough,
Yeah.
that was.
I just. I'm not sure what scene. I mean, we were basically British commandos trying to rescue a German scientist from a Nazi compound in the mountains of France. Is the premise. I don't know, Caleb. What's your favorite part of that? What anecdote would you like to do? There's so many to choose from.
My favorite is when the Nazis sent us back to rob a 16th century Spanish galleon.
Yeah,
I completely failed. Oh, no. Tom group rolled sand loss for us.
Yeah.
For everyone who failed, which is like 5 of the 6 players. And then he rolled a 6.
Yeah.
So everyone went simultaneously insane. And there were still like 3 Gestapo guys who were just totally fine with this. So my character got claustrophobia and went sprinting to the top of a Spanish galleon in the middle of a storm.
And shot the deckhand kid.
Everyone else went crazy. But I think my absolute favorite has to be when Ross was doing what the Nazis were saying and killing them all to prevent a time paradox that would wipe out existence. And then Aaron tried to save everyone. And then...
Yeah, Aaron, I would like to explore this.
And then,
why did you want to save the
No, we got to get through the whole thing. We got to get through the whole thing.
Let him get it out of the system.
So then Aaron put them all on a life raft.
Yeah.
Which would cause them to survive the storm, which historically wiped them all out. And, totally lead to a... sound of butterfly scenario.
It's Sound of Thunder.
Effect,
Yeah, butterfly effect scenario. Sound of Thunder, sorry. Wow, that was a
Sound of a butterfly.
That was a malaprop. Sound of butterflies. Anyway, puts them all on a life raft, at which point Ross, guns them down. So then we go back. And Aaron and I are damaged. And we see Yogg-Sothoth. It's not a great look. And then Yogg-Sothoth talks to Aaron and is like, I would like to come into your world and devour all that is. Would you like me to do that? And Aaron's like, yeah, leave Caleb's character alive because he didn't try and kill my conquistadors, but murder everyone else. So then so Aaron becomes a vector for Yogg-Sothoth to enter into reality. So just to sum up, Aaron was angry that Ross killed his people that were going to wipe out history as we know it. So when we got back, Aaron wiped out existence.
To be fair, he also saves Faust's character too.
He saved Faust too. Yeah, Faust and I were okay. We just saw everyone we knew die.
All right, so Aaron,
okay. May I have my rebuttal?
Yeah,
you're going to. You always do. So yes.
I might as well just say fuck you and stay silent and leave it at that.
All right, great episode.
That's been RPPR.
This has been RPPR.
29. No, just kidding. He's still going to talk no matter what.
So why did you do it?
Well,
I'm okay with it. I lived. I just thought it was deeply humorous.
It's a Yogg-Sothoth.
No. I will say no. I pretty much When it came to the sailors, though, that was me succumbing to sympathy pet syndrome. I don't deny that one at all.
Conquistadors are so sympathetic.
No, yeah, they're so sympathetic. But considering that we were like time-traveling Nazis wrecking their shit when they were going to die anywhere.
Time-traveling British commandos undercover as Nazis.
We might as well just spin it, so...
No, wait, I have a different favorite part of the game. I will get to it later.
Okay, so... I was looking at that from the aspect of, God, okay, this is probably wrong, but I'm going to try to save out of them. Ross, you're on point in the mission, and I ended up losing sanity. Now, the reason why when Tom gave me the option was that I lost 20 san in the process.
It's not. That's not a reason.
Hold on. That's not a reason. You say that's not a reason. I went full bug nuts, insane. I think I was down to like 15 or 16 san, and realistically, had I had a chance to, if it weren't at the end of the game, or we were continuously
confronted with Yog-Sothoth.
So, honestly, I basically just went. You know what? This is an avenue I haven't crossed. Really joining with the entity and the such. Let's see where that goes. And so
your reason was fuck it.
Exactly, and you're not going to say that wasn't entertaining as hell.
That's a better Aaron justification than I think we've ever had before.
I would have done it.
My reason was hashtag fuck it.
I saw I had that massive sanity loss. I don't think you would have been in the right mind to begin with. It's like, you know what, this will be interesting to see. Because I did not ask for this one. Tom just kind of
didn't ask for this.
No, I didn't ask for that ending. Tom just came up with like, hey, want to join with the damn Time Lords? Sure.
Okay, no, my actual favorite part of the game was, so Tom obviously wanted what we were going undercover at this Nazi base to be a secret until we did it, to like spring the time travel thing.
Yeah.
So, as a result, we weren't briefed.
Oh, yeah. We weren't briefed on this?
Every NPC we meet, no less than 5, it's just like, you haven't been briefed yet? Well, I'll brief you later, but you need to go see. So, like, everyone would despair we weren't briefed, and then pass us on to someone else who would brief us. Then they wouldn't brief us, and they'd pass us. So, like, by the time we actually got to the Cthulhu part, it was like,
have you been briefed? No, go to the next one.
To be fair,
have you been briefed?
That is the most accurate role-playing of the German military bureaucracy of World War II I've ever seen. I feel that's the most credible part of the scenario.
No, I loved it, but by the end of it, like, every time we encountered an NPC, it was like, have they been briefed? Who here has been briefed? I'm like grabbing conquistadors, asking if they've been briefed. Like...
It's like,
it was just getting nuts.
Unhand her dead mask.
Unhand her dead. Basically.
Nice Dragons in Deutsch.
So, yeah, which the conquistadors are sure to speak. So, that's a game that
they'd speak it if they'd been briefed.
If they would have. We will definitely have this game up at some point. It was too good. We had a lot of time. It was a great scenario. We had a lot of fun with it.
And repeat, it wasn't Divine Fire.
It wasn't Divine Fire. It involved similar thematic elements.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, no, it was fun.
But yeah.
But it was a little absurd at points.
Yeah, we did get a little rowdy at times. But yeah, so that's something
we drank.
A little bit.
Except for Tom.
Yeah, except for Tom, weirdly enough. So this has been RPPR episode 129, campaign starters and parters. This is Russ Baden.